What is up, everyone? I'm super excited today. Today we are going to the May Stringer House. It was built in 1855 as a plantation. There apparently was up to 50 slaves, I guess, buried on the property, and some of the family members. It is 4 stories tall and it has 12 rooms. It has lots of haunted items in there that have been donated to the museum. It's a museum now over the years, and some of those things were supposed to be haunted. It is one of the, if not the most haunted places in Florida. When we get there, they're going to give us a tour of the place and give us the stories and the lowdown and everything of what happened. So stay tuned. We'll see you there. Keep it creepy. What is up, everyone? It's your boy. We are at the location. It's the May Stringer House in Brooksville, Florida. This is going to be a really good video. I'm seriously kind of nervous on this one. This one has been proven to be haunted. There's no rumor, no speculation. It's legit haunted. They also do other ghost tours too, so if you're interested, I would definitely check out the May Stringer House. It's very creepy. Let's do this, guys. Stay tuned. I also forgot to mention that I didn't go into much detail on the history of the place or who haunts the place, because they do an actual tour of the house itself and give you the little history and whatnot, what to expect or whatever. So I'll let the video run while that's happening, so you guys will learn just as much as I'm learning at the same time. Standing out here in the parking lot, I did hear what sounded like someone dropped a spoon in there on the floor. So this is gonna be good. There's no one in there, by the way. That flash was my boy Ken over there taking pictures of the place. All right, my friends, keep it creepy.
Welcome to the May Stringer House. It's got 2 names because 2 different people built this house. The first 4 rooms were built in 1856 by John May. In 1880, Dr. Sheldon Stringer bought the property and added 10 more rooms. It is now a 14-room house. You will be allowed in 12 areas tonight. One of the bedrooms is now the curator's office, and the bathing room is storage. But other than that, all 3 floors. Once we've done a walkthrough and you know where things are at, you'll be on your own. I'm 70 years old and I cannot take the risk of being exposed to COVID, okay? So when you're around me, you must wear your mask. I will be sitting right here all night. But when you're investigating with each other, I don't care if you wear a mask or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's just when we're in close proximity, okay? All right, good. Well, let's start the tour in the old part of the house. Come this way. We're gonna look at some pictures over here, so just come right around. Okay. Now, the first 4 rooms were the parlor, the dining room, and the 2 bedrooms directly above it. That was the front door of the original house. And just outside it was a porch. In 1866, a gentleman was on his way to visit the current occupant of this house. This is right after the Civil War was over. As he climbed the front steps, someone rode by on horseback and shot him dead right there.
Wow.
This house, at the time, was owned by one of the original regulators, who became the KKK.
Ooh.
And when the war was over, here in Brooksville, Florida, it was as ugly as anywhere in the Deep South. They'd lost the war, their economy was in the toilet, the slaves were freed, now they had to pay for labor, things were not good. And the anti-black feeling here was about as ugly as anywhere. Well, the regulators formed a group, committee they called it, and they were going to tell the black people where to live, how to live, where they could go, where they couldn't go, and so on. Well, that didn't go over real well. And there was a lynching. Of course, there were several more, but the first one was this poor black man who was courting a white woman, and that was not the right time to be doing that. And so they got him out of bed in the middle of the night and hung him from a tree. As it turned out, the rumor was false, and over the next 12 months, 11 of these regulators turned up dead mysteriously. Number 11 was on the front steps of this house.
Wow.
So the house has been involved in some really bad juju going all the way back to the Civil War. Okay? All right, so the house was built by John May. He had come down here from Alabama with his wife Marina and their little baby girl. He bought 160 acres adjacent to his mother's 160 acres. So he had a plantation ready-made for double that size. He needed a house to live in with his family, so he built the 4 rooms here and they moved in. Marina gave birth to another little baby girl, and 1 year later, at the age of 25, John May died in this house. He had what they call consumption. We call it tuberculosis today. But in those days, they had very few doctors and even less medicine. If you got something that serious, it was almost always fatal. So Marina is left here with 2 babies, a bunch of slaves, and a whole plantation to run. She stays on and runs the whole show by herself for the next 9 years.
Wow.
Until the Civil War was over. Now when the war was over, this guy right here, take a good look at him, you might see him later. His name was Frank Saxon. He was a local boy and he'd gone off to fight in the war for the Confederacy. He was wounded in Perryville, Kentucky and taken prisoner by the Union Army. They transferred him to Atlanta and put him in a prisoner of war camp, and that's where he spent the rest of the war. When the war was over, the Union Army had all these Confederate prisoners and didn't know what to do with them, so they just opened the gates of the prison camps and told them to go home. And Frank walked back to Brooksville from Atlanta.
Wow.
Wow was right. How many people in this room think they could walk from Atlanta? Yeah, right. So, the fact that he made it back to Brooksville alive made him a big local hero. And he used this to launch a career. He became a politician, he became a lawyer, he was clerk of court, he was the mayor, he was the chief of police, he was all kinds of stuff, but he needed a rich widow. Guess who that was?
Yeah.
Marina May. He courted her, married her, and moved right into this house. Now in those days, when a man married a woman who owned property, guess what happens? Her property becomes his property. So overnight, he's a landowner, and he's rather wealthy, and then he launches his whole career. Well, it all started right here. Now, Frank and Marina had 2 babies. First was a little boy, and he was very sickly when he was born, and he passed away at 5 weeks. Marina got pregnant again, and this time she delivered a little baby girl. They named the baby girl Jessie May Saxon. If you don't remember anything else on this whole tour, remember that name. Poor Marina got very sick after she delivered Jessie, and she died 3 weeks later. So Frank the Bachelor is living here with a newborn infant and the 2 little girls from John May's marriage, who are now 9 and 10. And they all live together in this little 4-room house until just before Jessie's 3rd birthday. And she dies. She dies very suddenly. We don't know the cause of death because the year was 1872. Shortly after that, the courthouse burned to the ground and took all the records with it. The only evidence we have that this child ever even existed is this one picture right here. You got a light? Anybody got a light?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry.
Quite all right. I never remember to bring the flash. That one right there.
Oh.
Now, this is the only picture I've ever taken of this child, and because in those days they didn't do a lot of picture taking, when a child dies very suddenly and very young, they had to hurry up and get a picture of the corpse. She is actually laid out right here in the parlor at her funeral.
Wow.
She's already passed away. This is a copy of the one and only picture. The Saxon family still lives here in Brooksville. they have the original.
Oh, wow.
But they were kind enough to give us a copy because that child was born in this house. She died in this house, and she is still in this house. How do we know that? Those of us who volunteer here have all had some sort of interaction with this child. I've been a member and a volunteer here for 18 years. I had my first paranormal experience 3 weeks after I started. It was a Saturday afternoon. It was closing time, and I was sitting right there in the entryway, and I sent my 9-year-old daughter upstairs to turn out the lights. I could hear footsteps upstairs. One set was my daughter, but one set I had no idea who that was. And they were going pat, 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 pat. And pretty soon my daughter came flying down that staircase and looked at me and said, "Mama, don't you ever make me go anywhere in this house by myself again." I said, "I won't. I heard footsteps." She goes, "Never mind that. There's a little girl upstairs that was grabbing the back of my leg." That was it for my daughter. She had to come with me when she was really young. But I'll tell you what, as soon as she didn't have to, she does. And she's all grown up with babies of her own, and she won't come over.
Oh, wow.
Yep, if she needs to see me and I'm on duty, she'll wait out there on that front porch. Don't blame her. All right, come on this way.
After yours.
Go right around the table, please. You're still in the 4-room house. That's the back door of the original house. They built the staircase outside the building because in those days your property taxes were assessed according to closets and staircases. There were no closets in the first 4 rooms. And because they put the staircase outside the building, they were only taxed for a 2-room house with a loft as opposed to a 4-room house. Doesn't sound like much, but in 1856, your property taxes were $10 a year.
Yeah.
But your average weekly wage was about $2 a year, a week. So it was a lot of money. So they saved $2 to $4 by putting it outside. So Marina used to carry those babies up the outside staircase, down a catwalk to get to the 2 bedrooms upstairs. When Dr. Stringer added on to the house, he left everything in place, and the catwalk became the upstairs hallway when he started adding on, and he added to the back of the building as well. Now, I've been with the museum for 18 years. We've been doing ghost tours and investigations for 16 of those years. So the first 2 years, there was no ghost hunting. There was no ghost hunters on TV. This is very early days, 2002. And I'm here on a Saturday afternoon, not wanting to have any more experiences, thank you very much. And I'm standing right here doing the day tour, which is all about artifacts, the history of the area, the building itself, and so forth. So I'm standing here talking to this group of people. Over here on the sideboard at the time was an exhibit of antique cups and saucers. Well, while I'm talking to these people, all of a sudden all the cups and saucers start to shake, and they're just da, 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 da. I don't know what this is, and I don't want to know. I said to myself, okay, hurry up and say what you got to say in this room and move on. So I'm talking faster and faster, trying to get through my little spiel. And these people are looking at me and they're watching all these cups and saucers dancing around. They don't know what's going on. And finally, one teacup went up in the air about 8 inches, flipped over, and came down. And I was all done. I looked at my guests and I said, shall we move on? And they're like, big-eyed, and they're going, okay.
I'd be like, no, let's see if it does it again.
I gotta hand it to them. They went on the whole tour after this. We did the first floor, we did the second floor, we did the third floor, and every room we stepped into, as soon as we'd crossed the threshold, something in the room fell on the floor. It happened room after room after room. I don't know to this day if it was somebody in the group or me, but we were triggering some sort of activity here. And finally, at the end of all tours, we come down that front staircase, and at the time, the last room was across the hall, the old doctor's office. So I'm bringing them down the front staircase, and I said, and now we're going to the doctor's office. I turned left, they turned right, and went straight out that front door. I said, nope, we're done. And I never saw them again.
Wow.
Gee, I would have won. All right, this way, please. you just went from 1856 to 1880. This room is set up and decorated as a kitchen because of all these wonderful artifacts that were donated that belong in a kitchen. But there never was a kitchen in this house in either John May's time or Dr. Stringer's time. In the South, if you were moneyed, you had a cookhouse 20 feet from the main house. Fire was the biggest danger. If the cookhouse caught on fire, no big deal. Heat in the summer obviously was the second biggest issue. So keep the heat from cooking as far away from the house as possible. This room was added on by Dr. Stringer for the family's privacy. He practiced medicine in the same house he lived in, which meant the public is trooping through his front door. Okay, so there were areas of the house that were kind of off limits to the public, and this is one of them. They could really relax here. That doorway is the back door of the Stringer house. The room you see beyond it wasn't added on until the 1930s. Okay, so it's the granddaughter actually added that to the house. Okay, so this same granddaughter sold this house out of the Stringer family in 1949. It became a single-family rental house from 1950 until 1974 when the house was abandoned. So for 24 years, big families lived here. If you had 6 or 8 or 10 kids, this was the perfect place. 14-room house, sure.
Right.
The other issue was, even back then, this 14-room house was renting for $100 a month. When was the last time you rented anything for $100?
Yeah.
So it was a big draw for big families. Well, one Saturday afternoon, early days of ghost hunting, I was on duty here, and there was a tour going on. I wasn't doing the tour, but I overheard a gentleman on the tour say to someone else, "I lived in this house when I was 8 years old." I grabbed him right out of that tour and I said, "Guess what? You are going on a personal private tour with me. We're going to go wherever you want to go, and you're going to tell me what it was like to be 8 years old living here." He said he was one of 6 kids. The day the family moved in, there was a knock at the front door. His mom went to answer it, and it was the mailman. And he looked at her and he said, "You're not moving in here." She said, "Well, yes, we are." He said, "Well, you're not going to stay. Everybody in Brooksville knows this house is haunted." She said, "Listen, mister, I got 6 kids. The price is right. We're going to stay." Well, they managed to hang on, and those are his words, for 11 months. The night before they gave up and left, they'd been out for the evening. When they came home, the father opened the front door. No lights were working in the house. That wasn't so bad. But upstairs, there was this god-awful racket. There was screaming and yelling and wind howling and all kinds of noise. So the father said to the mother, "Stay outside with the kids." He grabbed the family dog and a baseball bat and headed in the front door. The dog wouldn't cross the threshold. He bolted. So the father starts up the front staircase with nothing but a baseball bat. He gets to the top of the stairs. All the noise stopped, and every light in this house went on simultaneously. He said that was it. They were done. The next morning, they gave no notice. They simply packed up and left. So I asked him, I said, "You're in your 40s. It's Bruce. It's okay." He just keeps tabs on stuff. I lost my place. So on his way out the door, I said, "You know, you're in your 40s. This all happened when you were 8. What took you so long to come back here?" And he looked at me and he says, "Listen, lady, I had to grow up and be a big boy. I wasn't ready to come back here." That I could understand. So have fun with that tonight. By the way, we have what we call the Book of Fame. Have you ever heard of it? Well, it's a compilation of pictures taken on different tours, different investigations, and that people would bring us pictures. We have full-bodied apparitions, we have myths, we have it all. So if you're interested in looking at it later on, let me know, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, we're going that way. The next room is called the military room because of all the artifacts, but that was actually a privacy porch that Dr. Stringer built.
Oh, okay.
And again, this porch was on the back of the house so that the family had privacy out here The front porches on these big fancy houses were for show, okay? And the back ones were where the family could hang out and the public couldn't see them. And if you look, you'll see the original clapboards and lintels are still here. When we rescued the house from demolition, it had fallen right off the building. It was all rotted out. So we replaced it with, this was a gift shop for the first 30 years. And around the corner is the one and only bathroom in the place. All the volunteers said, we gotta have a bathroom. We can't be spending hours on end here with no bathroom. This exhibit all began with a donation of these uniforms. They start with World War I, World War II, and Vietnam. The families of these soldiers brought us their uniforms and asked us to please honor their memory. And based on that, all artifacts military that have been donated are housed in this room. It used to be in the back, but it was all glass windows all the way around. And a fabric expert came in and said, the light is destroying the uniforms.
Yeah.
You got to put them in a dark place. Even in the daytime, without the lights on, it's pretty dark in here. So we had to move the exhibit. And believe me, I was helping the curator move some of the artifacts. They didn't like it at all. When it was back there, it was one of the top haunted locations in the whole building. They didn't want to come in here. And she and I kept getting cold shots on the head while we were moving the yard. I got about 3 of them, and I said to her, you know what, I'm going home now. You can get somebody else to take my place. And even on my way to the parking lot, it was still giving me cold shots. So they were really upset to be moved. But we have uniforms. We've tried to get something from every branch of the service. These are Civil War artifacts. These are World War I. We've got a little bit of everything. If you're ex-military or you have some connection to the military, come in here and do some quiet time. It might be worth your while.
I'll hang out here.
Okay,
20
good.
year retired.
There you go. You have a connection. So, all right, on to the next, which is the doctor's office. Thank you. And then I'm going to send you upstairs with Bruce, and he's going to show you the 2nd and 3rd floor. I can't climb the stairs anymore. Sucks to get old, guys. Sure
It happens to us fast.
Yeah.
It sure does.
All right. So welcome to the doctor's office, by the way. There's the bathroom in case you need it during the evening. It was very common in the late 1800s that a doctor would practice medicine in the same house he lived in, and that was the case here. So as he was adding on to the house after 1880, one of the first things he did was build this doctor's office. The front door was actually how his patients came in, and the entryway was the waiting room for his practice. So all hours of the day and night, people would come through the front door and wait there for him. He'd bring them down here. He had 4 sets, so much for that one, 4 sets of pocket doors. And he would close off the parlor and the dining room during the day when he was seeing patients. He'd bring a patient down here, close these doors, treat them, and they'd exit by that door over there. This room has treated patients from 1885 to the late 1920s because there were 2 generations of Dr. Sheldon Stringer. There was senior and junior. Over here is pictures of the 2. And like I said, it was over here. Right.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. So that's father and that's the son. We have all kinds of artifacts. Again, anything that had to do with medical is housed in this room. He was just a plain old doctor, so was his son. He wasn't a dentist, he wasn't a barber, but anything that was donated we have equipment from the first hospital in the area.
Oh, wow.
We have all kinds of artifacts in here. It's a big mishmash, and usually I just try to promote the haunted house, which we couldn't have this year because of COVID.
Right.
That was really too bad. Have you been to our haunted house? It is amazing.
We really wanted to go.
It is amazing. They take 75 volunteers to plan it, build it, maintain it, and then take it down again. And we turn all 3 floors of this house into a very scary grown-up haunted house.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah, we don't recommend children go through it under the age of 8.
I've been doing that for 8 years.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Bruce is a veteran. So, now, the next place you're headed is upstairs. Bruce will take you. 2 things. The staircases must remain lighted at all times, okay? If you have luggage, did you bring any luggage with you?
Yeah, I have a couple bags.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, everything stays on the first floor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Okay.
Can we put
Alright.
tripods and stuff on the second floor and stuff like
Oh
that?
yeah, oh yeah.
Just
You
me-
can
the
take
main luggage
individuals,
down there?
no bag. Yeah, just no
Okay.
luggage.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I'll be seeing you as the evening wears on.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, they're already with you guys.
Oh, I can feel it. We heard footsteps outside on the porch.
Oh, yeah.
So before anyone gets out, we're sort of, uh-oh.
They knew you were coming.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean. You see that door swinging up on it? Huh?
Here we go.
Right over here.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
We left you behind.
We lost everyone.
Has a nice urine smell like my grandma's house.
Yeah, I can smell it through the mask.
Yep.
You're in.
Grandma had a cat.
Oh. I don't think we have a cat. Anyway, this is the master bedroom of the Victorian House. This is the newer side, occupied by Frank Saxon and his wife, or by Sheldon Stringer and his wife.
You're fine.
This is where she did all her stuff. Don't expect a tour from me, guy. I'm just security.
I'm just security.
There was a curious story about the spinning wheel right here. There's a lady named Autumn who does tours here, and one day when she came in, this wheel was off and slanted off to the side, and somebody in the tour specialized specifically in these old spinning wheels, and luckily he had come in that day, and he went and fixed it for her.
That's
That was convenient.
Yeah.
Crazy coincidence.
Right. But,
It's like, let's test your knowledge.
But this bedroom is specifically set up for a lady, the lady of the house,
Right.
to do her crafts and her things. And this is where Mrs. Sheldon Stringer would be. Well, without any further ado, let's go to the next part of the house.
No problem.
Not that
Oh, you don't have to wear your masks if you don't want to, guys.
Dolls galore?
Huh?
I saw the dolls.
Uh-oh.
I'm good.
Well, that's where we're going next, partner.
Okay, cool.
That's the
This
room,
here
Josh.
is part of the original 4-room structure. This is the top floor. The original door from the outside to the top of those stairs out here was right there, and led directly into this room. There's another little place over here that they built onto it. But in here's where we have all our old school telecommunications
Like that.
and whatnot.
Huh.
Old teletype machine from the 1970s.
Now this is all just donated stuff, right?
Oh yeah, everything in here is donated. There are very few original artifacts in the house. One of them is a painting that you'll find in the first room that you guys did the tour in. It's a darker one of a flower that was painted by Marina May, I believe.
That's all freaking me out.
There is a picture downstairs. Sorry.
Go ahead.
There's a picture downstairs of, and there's a whole book of pictures, but downstairs there's a picture of Frank Saxon standing directly out this door looking over the rail.
I see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the dude? You're just sucking it.
Someone got that rapist man.
Alright, we are going into Jesse May's room. And it's full of dogs.
Come on, Josh.
Did you bring your cameras on?
They're in the car.
Those ones, right?
I already killed the battery.
One of those? The teeny tiny one right there. That one right there predates this house. It predates the Civil War completely. It was like in the 1820s.
So it's definitely not connected to the house at all.
No, but there is a little girl attached to it, and that doll has moved more than once on us. Like, the head doesn't turn, and the head was just would cock.
Nice.
That's creepy.
I'm down with that.
This is Jessie May's room. This is the room she was born in, and also the room that Jessie May's mother, Marina May, died in. She died of an infection. Back then they called it child bed fever. But we have lots of children spirits in this room. That doll definitely one of them. And under the bed, in order to help you guys communicate with them, we have a little box full of toys so that you guys could play with them and entice them to come out.
Cool. Thank you.
Which doll of those two is the small one?
The
Small
small
one
one right there.
Oh,
she is
more
very
creepy
down.
one, of course.
Yes.
The more creepy one, yes, John, of course.
Her face is
Don't insult it.
her face is porcelain, I think, or no, paper mache. Her eyes are glass, and her body is made out
They
of
said
cloth and
the
sawdust.
head doesn't move, but you've seen it turn.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had that. The head doesn't move at all, and if you try to pick it up, it would probably disintegrate. It's that old. But we've come in here, and the head's like this,
Oh.
you know, and we're like, okay, that doesn't go like that.
Just
And
walk
I'm
away,
not
right?
gonna- I'm not gonna move it back either.
Does it move itself back?
I didn't touch it. I mean, if somebody else did, good for them. But no, that thing is off limits.
But no.
That thing is off limits. Nobody's supposed to touch it.
Right.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I mean, I assumed it did or not. Doesn't matter to me. Feelings in the air.
Good. I'm gonna leave it first. So I'm behind you. You alright, Mikey?
Oh yeah. You?
Yeah, because I've been getting super weird vibes.
You are?
Yeah, oh, yeah. I feel like an intense heat in this post. Like, it's not that hot, it's...
That's because of the flow of the house. All the hot air lines up here. It sucks here.
Oh, it's not good.
Means there's something in the cooler.
That's a whole nother floor.
Yeah. We don't go up there though.
Ooh.
Remember that soldier that they told you that killed himself?
Yes.
Yes. His name's James, we call him. And when he committed suicide, we believe it happened right here. Just above, if you look, there was a rafter that you can tie a rope down.
Oh, yeah.
And all you have to do is open that up, tie the rope, step off.
Yep.
Sorry, but a lot of people get a real heavy presence here. There's a lady that burst into tears one time. And it's where, personally I think it's because everybody's coming off of walking up a big old flight